What's up guys, this is Oli aka Soul Warrior, and today we are looking at the encounters for Cervidus' adventure. There's a couple of players that joined this game kinda late. They missed out on Cervidus, a unit that initially was hyped for its active, but these days I rarely play Cervidus for his active. I have to say that it's not that the active is bad, it's just very often you don't really need it, and the passive is so strong, especially in guild raid when you're able to vine down dragonlings. I don't want to miss out on Cervidus. I hope you're feeling the same way, and if you don't have the unit just now, you can unlock it in this adventure. And how to do this, I'm gonna show it to you right now. So we're starting with common encounter number 2, where we have to get a lightning victory. On top of that, we have to play mages, which is not a problem. I'm going to explain that in a second, and not take any damage. So why is mages one of my favorite victory conditions or extra point conditions in this game? Well, mages create summons, and summons mean that you are not getting attacked. So this is the lineup I'm going with. I wanted to have someone who can create some darkness. In that case, that's Queen Akeshru, and by the way, also Shades. And then we want to play Ranaklu, because Ranaklu is really good against summons. That's a triple, really. That's like the highest case of being good. It's like S tier against summons, because no matter how strong a summon is, Ranaklu is going to turn it into a friendly shade. So we can already see after one turn only, we got complete control over the board. It's just one enemy left standing. We can attack him with Ranaklu. Bit risky, but we get another summon next to him, so the enemy is going to focus on the summon, and that means we can get the lightning victory in absolutely no time. I thought we're off to a great start. This adventure is going to go well, and then suddenly we had common encounter number 2, where we need to deploy ranged heroes, which also means we can play almost all the heroes we played in this encounter just now. And I think I had to play this 5 or even 6 times. I tried Tim. I tried Grandma Bones. I tried to do some different things with Queen Akeshru, and in the end, after infinite tries, and that's what it felt like, at least for a common encounter there was a lot of tries, I realized that the way to go is my Vera. So we're kicking things off with Cervidus, vining one guy in place so he can no longer be dangerous. We need to get a little lucky with my Vera, because now we got 2 skeletons rather than 1. And then the other key unit here is Giggs, because of his ability to water walk. He's just gonna walk over the water, connect with the enemies on the other side, and that gives us some summons. Yeah, we've talked about summons before, and that means the enemies are not gonna be a problem here. And then that's basically it. Like, all of a sudden this looks like a really easy encounter, and it didn't the first 5 times I tried it. So you now have to just like bring it all home, and then we're good to go with yet another perfect score. And like I said, I burned like 5 tokens for this one. This is the reason why we can't do all the encounters today. Common encounter number 3 requires us to not take any damage, and that's it. So it's a free for all. We can play whoever we want to play. This is a pretty straightforward map in terms of what do you want to do. I was looking forever for Nimrod until I finally realized I already had Nimrod in my lineup. So then we were kicking things off. You want to get Granny in place, because Granny means when somebody dies you get a summon. Then you bring Nimrod in. Nimrod means I make everybody die. That's basically the short version. So these two are like a really bad combo in like this, like the most easy sense of the word. And then we want to get rid of the guys at the top with Cervidus and Grandma, and the bottom we want to handle with Ranaklu and Giggs. And that's the encounter. Pretty straightforward. I needed 1 attempt for this one. That's not much easier than the second one, which already takes us to the uncommon encounters, where we need to get lightning victory, and for the first time we need to deploy sacred grove heroes. This is something we're going to see quite a bit. Fortunately, so far, at least in most cases, you don't have to play 5 units. You're gonna be good with just 3 units. Now, this encounter I enjoyed a lot. Let's just see when I'm kicking things off here. I thought about Oakenshrub because he can heal himself, but in the end I thought Scruffy is just so good against so many summons. There needs to be a reason why this map layout is the way it is. So here we go. Scruffy goes into a shrub because he's doing more damage with Bushkin. You wanna like give him like a something on the side, and that's basically what we're doing here with the tree. And then I'm not even attacking with Cervidus, is that correct? I think I'm just baiting the opposition here. It's a weird strategy, but believe me when I say it's gonna work out. So we take some damage, but that's why we are playing Nixie. Nixie is a really good unit, in case you didn't know. Nixie can heal several units without any problems whatsoever. Now you want to get rid of the ranged units, that's very important here. That's basically what Scruffy is doing for us here. And then after that, we could heal here with Cervidus, but he hasn't taken a lot of damage. We instead want to make sure that even more enemies cannot connect with us. Now, we moved Scruffy next to the tree, and Nixie indirectly heals Scruffy this way. So all of a sudden this is looking extremely promising, because only one of our units has taken any damage, or at least at the moment. Only Cervidus has taken a little bit of damage. And we still have options to heal him with the Lotus Blossoms on the field. So we just get him in. Then we see this again. Now the only unit that has taken some damage is Scruffy. So the only thing we have to do is first heal him with Nixie, because that's something else that Nixie can do after that attack with Scruffy. And just in time for the Lightning Victory, we get our perfect score in this encounter. In uncommon encounter number 2, we need to deploy ranged mages. One of my favorite win conditions. The only thing is this could screw up some guys that don't have a Grandma Bones. However, I have a strategy for you that does not require a Grandma Bones. In this encounter, what's very important is you need to go in very aggressively, because if you're not going in aggressively, the Frost Summoners, Frost Sorcerers, whatever the name is, I can never remember the names of units in my head. They are just like units with movement 2 and they can summon someone. I just think about the traits, what they can do. So these sorceresses at the bottom of the map, they need to get attacked very early on if you can, because you don't want them to spawn infinite more summons. You want to win this match as fast as possible. So that's why we're like trying to go in with like do some damage. And now Tim is a really good unit here, because we can affect so many enemies with his active. We're not taking a lot of them out, but it's a really good setup for Queen Akeshru. And I wasn't so lucky in all my attempts, but in this attempt I got those 2 Frost Sorceresses to line up really, really nicely. And then it was a walk in the park after that. So all of a sudden we do have 3 summons on board, and there's some enemies. And the only problem, yeah, there's no problem. There is no problem here. This is a Lightning Victory with a perfect score. So in the end, that worked out like an absolute charm. Uncommon encounter number 3. It requires us to play heroes that are not mounted, so that basically prevents us from playing Tim. This is not much of a problem, because we can see something that we saw before. There's units in a line, like in a circle almost, in a semicircle. And here, oh, this is the encounter where I was looking for Nimrod for 5 minutes, and until I finally realized, oh, Nimrod is already on the map. Right. It's one of my favorite moments in this adventure. I wasted like 2 minutes of my life doing this. Alright, so we cannot play Grandma Bones this time around, because, oh, actually we can. So what are we doing here? Oh, wait a second, I need to go back. Wait a second, sorry, normally I don't do this, but this was my lineup for this encounter, and I'm pressing start. And I'm trying. I'm really trying, like, okay, let's go. Let's go, what's happening? What's happening, game? Why can't I play? And then I realized I have to play Cervidus. So Cervidus didn't seem like a unit that was really necessary for this strategy here. But yeah, it's a good unit. I'm not saying he's bad, don't worry. It's not like a Voyasa situation here. Alright, so we can get rid of a couple of units by attacks with Giggs on the one hand, Nimrod on the other hand, and now this is just like callback time again, because it just reminds us so much of all the adventures with the dark units. We create some more darkness on the map, we get another summon, which is nice, and then after that we can go in with Ranaklu, and that's basically all she wrote. That's the end of this. There's nothing else happening here. You can close your eyes now. Nothing is going to happen. Even if we stop playing, we won this encounter at this point. Alright, maybe we have to move Nimrod a little bit, but honestly, we won this encounter already at this point. So that's it, there's one more enemy, and we can gang up on him, and that's basically it. So, pretty straightforward encounter, even without mounted units. As I'm feeling extra generous today, I'm also sharing my strategies for the rare encounters, or rather the strategies of my team. This is not my own, this is a strategy that Roho and Mir from Eternal Nexus came up with. Thank you so much. We don't have audio on this one, but I think you can still make out what's happening. So the Nixie tree was really crucial, because it prevents the enemies from connecting with us. Then we had Tavarinci. I don't have a very highly leveled Tavarinci, so instead of using her active, I'm very likely going to use Tim for this strategy. And actually she was just level 35, which we saw here at the end. Let's just quickly go back. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a guy that has every unit as a legendary. I don't. But this seemed pretty straightforward. So this is a strategy. You may have to play it back because they had to upload it to our Discord and they didn't want to go over V-transfer. I may or may not have another strategy with Tim tomorrow, but I wouldn't hold my breath. This is a winning strategy. Rare encounter number 2, on the other hand, is something that I was able to master on my own. I mean, I had like only 3 points missing in the first rare encounter, but still, I wanted to give you guys the perfect score whenever I could. So this is why we're doing this way. So this time, we need to play all the units from the Sacred Grove. And whenever this is the condition in this festival, my personal advice to you is play Nixie. Nixie is so good. You can do so many things with the tree. We're going to see this. I mean, we already saw it in one of the past encounters, but we're going to see even more of that. It's just ridiculous what you can do with Nixie. And of course, the Lotus Blossoms. So we are going in first turn. We're taking some damage with Scruffy, but it's not a big deal because Scruffy is pretty tanky. He's got really good stats, something that we talked about in our hero spotlight. Now the only problem is we need to heal Scruffy, and at the same time we don't want to kill all the enemies right away. So the correct move here for me, in my opinion, was getting Nixie as much as possible out of the way. So now she's in a spot where she can only get hit by the opponent moving in, and if he moves in, Scruffy can damage the opponent. We were kind of lucky that Scruffy didn't crit, but I mean, even if it happened, we would have almost had a perfect score. So really good strategy, in my opinion, something that you can hopefully recreate. Rare encounter number 3, we need to play mages. This is the encounter, if I remember correctly, that I screwed up my very last move. Other than that, I think I got this right. So I can show you guys the strategy. There's only one moment where you have to think a little bit more than I did. So this is a map that invites us to play Tim because look at this. Tim can affect almost everybody. And a lot of these guys that Tim is affecting are next to water, and or they are lining up very nicely. So that means that Queen Akeshro is an absolute boss here, especially after Tim. So this is like a 1-2 punch if you've ever seen one. She's gonna take out the guys on the left hand side, 2 shades for us. That's the winning combination right there. Cervidus can make sure that this Frost Golem is not coming in. He cannot really do anything. And then we have some summons at the top, and we do have Runner Clue, so that means we already get 2 shades from our very first attack. So we are again in total control. The only thing we need to watch out for is making sure that these Frost Sorceresses are going down before they are summoning more guys to the field. So this is the part where I got somewhat confused. I honestly still don't remember what happened here. Something like my brain was just like not working, firing in all cylinders basically. So this is the moment where I'm thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? And for whatever reason, I kind of ignored the fact that I have like 3 more turns to get a lightning victory. Why am I attacking here? What's the strategy? So instead of going in with Runner Clue here, just take your time. Yes, the Frost Sorceress can summon a very powerful Frost Guardian, whatever his names, I'm making them up as I go along. It doesn't matter. Oh, it's an Ice Elemental, I just saw it. Because you have Runner Clue. Next turn, I'm just going to touch him with Runner Clue, he explodes, and we're winning. So just don't play it like me, and you're going to get a perfect score. Rare encounter number 4 requires us to play only green heroes, so that gives us a bit more flexibility than locking into Sacred Grove. But as a general rule of thumb, Sacred Grove is the better green. Sorry, Rinji Dynasty. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. So we're thinking about who do we want to play here for like 5 more minutes. But in the end, it's pretty straightforward. You want to play Cervidus, Scruffy, Silverroot, and Nixie. Those are, in my personal opinion, the top 4 units in this faction. But it's not like there's a bad unit. Even Oakentrop is a really good unit in my personal opinion. So now we're moving with Scruffy towards the bottom, and in a way that all of the summons have to move before they can connect with him. That's somewhat important because that means Scruffy's passive will trigger and give us more options to damage opponents. So that's like, look at the movement. Sometimes my movement, I mean, half the time you might feel like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But most of the time I'm actually doing like very conscious movement with my units. So now you can see that Scruffy's already damaging these enemies. Didn't really work so well here, but at least he stepped into a Lotus Blossom, so he took some damage. All right, so now we want to clear a path for Scruffy. And we also always want to first move Nixie and then attack with Nixie. That is extremely important. Now, we cannot take out the Frost Sorceress at the bottom with Silverroot, because my Silverroot is not strong enough. So we're like walking around a little bit. In a way, we're like, yeah, I'm thinking about, okay, what could I do here? Healing him up seems like a good idea. Then going with the active of Silverroot, and we're at least getting rid of one of the summons. So now we are almost done. We have 3 more turns. We have 3 damaged units. So we need to play this smartly. Now you might feel like, oh, there's no way we can turn this around. But look at how strong Nixie is. If you're making the most of Nixie, this is an absolute walk in the park. And I'm showing you guys how. So first you want to go in with Scruffy, or move with Nixie and heal Silverroot. Then you want to take out the first Sorceress. Alright, so far so good. The placement of Nixie was very conscious because she's 3 tiles removed from a tile that is adjacent to Scruffy. Does that make sense? It will in a second. Because now we can use Nixie's tree and place him next to Scruffy. That's almost a rhyme. Not quite. So now you feel like, okay, we still have 2 damaged units and there's only 2 more turns to go. How are we going to turn this around? Well, look at this. You just do a little sidestep with Nixie. She can heal herself. Yes, that's something she can do. She leaves a Lotus Blossom, so Cervidus can heal himself. And after that, we win. I mean, look at this unit. How good is Nixie? It's just crazy. Oh, and level up. Woo! In the last rare encounter, we need to deploy ranged heroes. We've seen this a couple of times before. It means Gix. Yeah, the unit that's on the screen. That's like a hint by the game. The game designers are dropping this hint for you guys. Play Gix. It's a really good advice. The other unit that you can play here is Tim Tim. There's water in the map, so that already makes sense. Grandma Bones is ranged, so that already makes sense. It's pretty straightforward who you can play here. And now we can basically go in with Grandma Bones, followed by Gix. That gives us summons, 2 of them to be precise. Then the enemy units that are remaining are all lined up. I mean, talk about an invitation. Just make sure you're not moving towards the left, because you want to get more distance between yourself and the enemy. So moving a little bit further to the right is the correct call. We can also see that here with the danger zone. Queen Akeshu would have been in the danger zone. That's something we do not want. We're somewhat lucky with Naevis not going in the left direction, because that would have hit Queen Akeshu, and I did not bring Nixie. I felt like this might have been a mistake, because you always want to play Nixie, because it's just so valuable being able to make sure that your units are healing up again. Then we want to get a skeleton. I mean, that's fair enough. Get another summon on the board, take some enemies out, and then connect with Gix eventually next turn. We have 2 more turns for whatever reason. Really generous by the level designers, but we can see that these Frost Guardians, they can actually pack a hit or 2. This was a misplay because we should have attacked with a green unit rather than a dark unit, but in the end it doesn't matter. We do get a lightning victory, and that leaves us with perfect scores across the board, except for that one encounter that I misplayed, for all of the common, uncommon encounters and the rare encounters. So talk about a good start into this festival. Cut! Guys, Future Ollie here. I decided to do this a little bit differently. I was burning through my tickets this morning. I didn't get to editing the first part of the video yesterday evening and publishing it. So instead, I'm showing you the epic encounters. Not all of them are perfect strategies, but they should get you closer to unlocking Cervidus. So without further ado, let's head back into the game. So this is epic encounter number 1. There's a couple of things that you need to watch here. Number 1, you need to play only Sacred Grove heroes, and you only have 2 turns for the lightning victory. So if you thought that this is like a controlish approach where you can stand in the back, I don't think this is the strategy for this level. I believe that this opening is correct, and now I'm making the misplay. You need to use the Murder of Crows right away. I think this is the key to winning this level in time, because I don't see how to do it any other way. And I didn't really think that whole thing through, because now you can already see, well, that's not going to work. What am I going to do here? So if you're playing this roughly the same opening, you just go in very, very hard. You take out at least one of these Frost Sorceresses with the Murder of Crows, and then the next turn you have Cervidus and Nixie to take care of the other 2 remaining Frost Sorceresses. That should be fine, I hope. That's the best I can come up with for this encounter. I know it's not perfect, because this turned into a bit of a cluster in no time, and it's not pretty to watch. So I think I'm actually cutting the video here in just a second, because I felt like, okay, this is going nowhere. Epic encounter number 2 requires us to play green units, so we have a bit of choice. I actually didn't even consider playing any of the Ringi squad. I think I just assumed I have to play Sacred Grove. I honestly don't know how I ended up with that conclusion. It's gonna take a little while until I'm done with my unit selection. This is a showcase of Nixie more than anything else, because we can again see how Nixie can hold her own against a variety of opponents. You do not want to place the tree right next to the Frost Guardian or Ice Elemental or whatever the name is. You want to place it in front of Nixie so it can heal Nixie back up. That's the crucial part here. Now we are getting extremely lucky with the next hit, which is going to be a crit hit. And then we have a couple more turns to finish this level. So I'm thinking here, like, where do I need to go? But crit hits is always the answer. This is what you need to do. And then after giving this a bit more thought, I'm like, I guess I could just like move in slowly and then pull the trigger on Cervidus, because why not? Otherwise we have too many of these archers on the board. So that seemed like a smart idea at first, but then I decided against it and felt like, well, the tree can do some more work because the tree is really, really good. And it turns out it is. So after allowing the Frost Elemental, Ice Elemental to spawn, we're taking out as many units as possible. And then it's time for Silverroot. There's only 4 more enemies. This is not much of a problem. And that gives us the perfect score just in time for the Lightning Victory. That already brings us to the last epic encounter where we need to deploy ranged heroes, and finally one of my favorite win conditions where it's relatively easy to get a good score. The complicated part is unit placement as always, but you know the drill. Giggs is really good, and then Grandma Bones is really good. I like Tim. I thought about some other options, but I thought Tim is also fine. So this is what we're doing here. We're going in with Tim. His passive in my case is so strong, it's level 48 or something, that you can actually get something out of it. Only took like 4 million gold to get something out of Tim. Now this is a gigantic misplay. So let's watch the rest of this match and like wallow in like, what did I do here, and then realize, is there a different strategy to do this? Because honestly I had to watch the video back to realize my mistake, and to this day I'm not quite sure, or to this moment, it happened like an hour ago, I'm not quite sure what was like leading me to make this terrible, absolutely ridiculous decision. So we can see that we got total control over the board, but we do get hit. Cervidus does get hit. But that's the only problem. Everything else like worked like a charm. There's no question about this. We're going to finish this without any problems whatsoever. There's still Tim on the board. We still have the Tim active, by the way. So even like enemies are standing next to water. This is not even close. We can even decide how we want to take out this unit. And I'm like, oh man, this was such a good run. The only thing I messed up is like Cervidus. He took some damage. And then I thought about, how can I avoid Cervidus taking damage? And now I'm going back to this entire thing, and I'm like, should I move Cervidus even further to the left or to the bottom to make sure that this guy on the right cannot connect? And I'm realizing, no matter where I place Cervidus, either the guy that I'm attacking can connect or this guy can connect. And I'm really thinking hard, how can I make sure that Cervidus doesn't take damage? And then I'm like looking over the map and I'm like, why am I a blind person? What happened here? So obviously you start the same way that I start, but instead of walking to the left with Cervidus, you walk to the right with Cervidus and you put him on the healing spot. Like, can it be any more obvious? No, it can't. I'm disappointed in myself. You probably figured this out right away, so you can get a perfect score here. Alright, without further making fun of myself part, let's go to the next encounter, which also happens to be the legendary encounter, so we can only deploy Sacred Grove heroes. This is pretty straightforward if you have a video by Lord Nako who ran you through the entire thing. Thanks so much, I didn't have to think for this for once, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. So there's a couple of things that are really important in this encounter. Number 1. The starting position of Nixie is a smart one, we will see in a little bit. You want her on the right because you want to move to the left. Yeah, that makes sense. Then Cervidus needs to focus on Corrin because Safer has hulking, which means stairs are his mortal enemy. He can never get over stairs. So you can now park all your units on the left hand side. The tree is taking care of the enemy. They cannot move in, and you already have a really good setup. If you get super lucky, you can crit hit Safer, but you don't have to. Even if you don't, you can just like park the enemies here. You have enough time to get a perfect victory and a lightning victory at the same time. So Nixie can basically sidestep back up, and Cervidus continues to do nothing. He's just there to window dress a little bit. So I moved him to the other side after giving this a little bit of thought. There's no reason to do this. I just felt he's a bit more, like he's even safer on this side. Alright, so we're moving back to the left with Nixie, I think. Not before Cervidus takes out Corrin. Cervidus really good against enemies that do not have range, in case you did not know. So I'm not moving with Nixie because I want the high ground, and I can also heal her very easily because there's a tree next to her. And now this is the last turn. The only thing we have to do is get rid of Sefa, so Cervidus takes care of him, and then there's one enemy, and we do, even if your Silver Root is not like level 29 or something, this shouldn't be much of a problem if you're playing it the way I did. Alright, and that's already it for this festival. In the end, we got a lot of really decent scores. There's a couple of encounters that I have to play again, but I'm very confident with these strategies you're going to be able to collect enough shards to finally unlock Cervidus. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough. If there's some strategy that you can come up with and you're like, hey Ollie, I got an idea for this other encounter, please share it in the comment section below. If you want to do it yourself and me a favor at the same time, enter my friend code, because that means that you're gonna get 100 free gems. I also get some gems, and if you make it to level 20, I get even more stuff, and obviously I'm going to show you how to get there exactly. The last piece of advice that I can drop in this video is, of course, subscribe to this channel and join the official Discord, where I announce when videos like this one are going live and all the best players in the game are exchanging their strategies. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, or of course in the Legend League. Bye bye!